Save the Semantics Hip Hop Discovery. My name is Myro.
And I'm Dante.
Today we're going to be reviewing Masta Ace and Marco Polo, a kind of a collaboration project called A Breukelen Story. You were the one that sort of initially kind of introduced me to Masta Ace. Like, what kind of like drew you to his music for you?
I actually first heard his song, excuse me, and the Biz in GTA San Andreas. His song is featured on one of the radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it, so then I listened to his albums. Really liked him,
Yeah.
and I've heard all of his solo albums. And he has a ton of collaboration albums.
Yeah.
I actually haven't heard any of the collaboration albums, but every single one of his solo albums, I really really like.
Yeah. What do you think is like the kind of like the standout feature of his music? Like, what do you think how does he like differentiate himself from other artists?
What I like is that he keeps. I like the old school sound that he has.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really changed it.
Yeah, very like New York boom bap kind of sound.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I
I
definitely
still appreciate how he hasn't
differ
out,
from
I guess.
that. Yeah, definitely. I've definitely noticed that he sort of maintains the type of sound that you're talking about on this album. What you listened to this album like a little while back, right?
Yeah.
Have you had like a chance to re-listen to it at all?
I re-listened to a bit of it today.
Okay.
And I really do like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wouldn't. It's hard for me to say if it's my favorite Masta Ace album.
Okay.
But because all of his I think are top.
He has like I haven't really gone through his discography. I've listened to his Disposable Arts album, but I haven't really been able to listen to other of his solo projects and like
That's a good
collaboration projects. Yeah, that is a good album as well.
An interesting thing is that his first album came out in 1990 called Take a Look Around.
Uh-huh.
That album was very 90s, and it was kind of experimental, I guess. Like,
Sure.
he wasn't like as philosophical or conscious, I guess is the word, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It was
like
just
he was
much more
he was
like-
more like having fun.
Just like rapidy rap kind of music.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
And then Disposable Arts came out in 2001, and he even hinted like of possibly retiring in Disposable Arts.
Right.
I forgot what song. But then he came out with Long Hot Summer in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
But in between 1990 and 2001, he had collaborative albums with his rap group called Masta Ace Incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those albums were kind of the same sound as Take a Look Around. And you remember the song? I played it for you.
The Diary song, Dear Diary.
No, the Sitting on Chrome song.
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, bro.
Man, he's going.
Shit. Solid burnout, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna go again? Hold on, let's see.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go again. Anyways, you were saying.
Yeah. So I gotta find this song for you, but
I think like what you've mentioned so far is that like a lot of the sounds he carries throughout the album or throughout his like career, he does maintain that kind of consistency on this album as well. Because like based on just like through my first listen, like it definitely feels like very authentic. It feels like something that came out in like 2003, you know, but the quality of the sound is definitely 2018. Just the production is very clean. It's very well, just incredibly well produced. But you wanted to mention that song.
yeah, Born to Roll. You remember that song?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of the Sitting on Chrome, that album, and the Masta Ace Incorporated songs sounded like.
Uh-huh.
So obviously more like Take a Look Around.
Sure.
And then when 2001 came, you got Disposable Arts.
He started to try to go more like conceptual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's understandable. First listen, what did you think of the album?
I really enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
I would say I would compare it. So out of all of his albums, like the album that came out before this in 2016 was called The Falling Season. And that entire album is about his journey through high school and how he went to a high school far away from his home, like a more upper class high school.
Right.
And then like how he made friends, played football, and had to adjust to the new culture because I guess in New York you kind of live in your neighborhood and you don't really venture out. I guess as
Sure.
much. If that's
Yeah, I think some of the themes do carry on to this album as well. Like it's very specifically like a Brooklyn themed kind of album.
like I would listen to some of his songs like on his albums and like there would be like some kind of skit maybe like towards the end of the
Right,
song and
right.
I would say like what's this in reference to, and then when I listen to the whole album it's like all of his later albums from Disposable Arts to now are one big story that's being told,
Right.
which is what I really like.
Yeah.
And then Son of Yvonne was about his mom and his dad leaving, and how hard it was for his mom to raise him. And every album like that
Right.
has a story
Sort
like
of
that
like
too.
like a running along theme for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think going along with that, like you mentioned like skits, and like I think the interesting thing about this album in particular, like the skits, we're sort of talking about like
The skits and the songs are kind of different from each other.
a little
In this album, yeah.
a little different, but like they all sort of remain the same within the same strand of living in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But in reference to like Masta Ace moving from one neighborhood to another, this is like about how Marco Polo, the
Yeah.
producer,
How he came from Toronto.
yeah, he came from Canada
And then he
went to
came to
Brooklyn.
New York, and his parents doubted him, and then
Yeah, and then
even
he
had struggles himself.
and then he, at the end, there's like a skit how he meets, Masta Ace in the production, like
Exactly.
in the room. I actually watched a interview Shea 45 did with Masta Ace and Marco Polo, and the way they met wasn't actually like the way that they portrayed it within
Okay,
the
like where he
skit.
just kind of like walked into the
Yeah, they like
office room.
it
or
wasn't
whatever.
like that. It was actually like Marco Polo was handing out like CDs where he produced some beats, and like he handed it to Masta Ace, and then Masta Ace, like, he was talking about how sometimes kind of brushes off those types of people that kind of hands out CDs, but like he said that some of the beat like selection that Marco Polo had kind of caught his eye, so he decided to hit him back up, and that's
Right,
how
okay.
they've been collaborating ever since. So I thought that was like a pretty cool story for sure.
And kind of an offhand thing. I don't know if you know about this, but Masta Ace actually does have like a pretty big following in Europe.
Yeah,
He's currently touring in Europe
I've
right
heard.
now.
Yeah, I heard that from.
And he's even done a
the
ton of
interview as
collaborative
well.
songs with like Croatian, German, and I think
Yeah.
Austrian
Yeah,
rappers.
going into back into the interview, he was mentioning how like the audience in the Europe and like other countries overseas are just so much more welcoming as opposed to like an American audience. Like,
Yeah, because now it's all about mumble rap
yeah,
and trap rap.
well, it's just like,
Well, people have moved on mostly. Like the general population has.
yeah, and well, it's not just like mumble rappers, just like today's trends, but it's just like what is essentially like popping off at the moment, like
Drake.
what's like popular at the moment. So like his type of music is not going to resonate with a lot of,
Mostly with older folks.
mostly with older folks, and he's like an older MC as well. So like I think his ability to garner a type of audience like in other countries is pretty impressive, that's for sure.
I also do like in this album how, like he also addresses like political stuff and even like and in I think it was the song called "Me" or like, let me look up.
You
real
and
quick.
I.
No, let me get to it real quick. So anyway, so the song I'll tell you. So it's kind of about he addresses the whole issue with like rappers who do Xanax and
Sure.
have sex with their fans.
I think it was Count Him Up. Was that the one? He had a couple of these songs.
Yeah.
He had a couple.
No, Wannabe.
Wannabe, that's the one.
With
Okay.
Marlon Crafts.
Yeah, that was a good song.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs in the album. Yeah, he sort of provides like a commentary on his upbringing as a rapper and how he sort of is like cautioning newer rappers to take heed and like let them know that like fame isn't like like infinite, I guess.
Yeah.
And like I think it's sort of like a similar vein as like what J. Cole did on his KOD album, where
You're
he
with
was sort of-
1985.
1985.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sort of talking to, up and coming or currently popular
People
rappers.
say Lil Pump, but it's not just him.
Yeah, it's not just him. It's addressing like the new age rappers and how they should just take a caution, and how fame is not really like your friend in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs on this album was "Still Love Her" because I thought that was like, that was one of my favorite songs. Like honestly, like it might be one of my favorite songs of the year. Like in terms of just like what he's talking about, like because this song in general, like I don't want to like overpraise it by any means, but like he sort of encompasses like the song is essentially a metaphor for him and in the rap game, right?
Yeah.
And so he's just talking about like his relationship with hip hop as like as if it's like a relationship with a woman, and sort of how
And his legacy is big too.
yeah.
And I also, you remember in Kamikaze, Eminem even mentions Masta Ace.
Yeah, he
in
did.
Lucky You,
Right.
because he says bring Masta Ace back. Because
Yeah.
half of these rappers have brain damage.
Well, yeah, I mean he's been here based
Yeah.
on what you've told me, so I don't really
Yeah.
think it's like of anything of notoriety. I think it's cool that Eminem gave him a shout out on like one of the biggest albums of the year for sure. But yeah, that album, this song in particular is like really like I think it resonates like a lot with like, I think it should resonate a lot with like just pure hip hop fans or just hip hop fans in general. Just talking about like sort of how much like she, as in like the game, you know, as in like how rap has like changed over time and how he has had to like adapt over time, or in a way like how he has sort of stayed true to himself while she, you know, the rap game has sort of gone off. He mentions how like she's gone down south to Atlanta and met some new
Yeah,
people,
because
you know, so
yeah,
you know
makes
like the
sense.
trap scene and down in Atlanta and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's big.
So yeah, it's pretty big down there. So like I think this is definitely like one of my favorite like just pure like rap songs that I've heard so far this year.
Well, I actually really do like the single off of it, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn was a good
Yeah,
song as well.
because I like how he shouts out Biggie and like like how he really really encompasses like, where he's from,
Yeah, puts
Brownsville,
his
New York.
influences on his
So
sleeve. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think one of the I think just overall this album has like a lot of great like themes through it. Just like the whole like the idea of just being just Brooklyn, you know, talking about again like his influences, people that have also come out of Brooklyn. Another interesting thing that I found out about the title, Brooklyn is like the original name that was given to like the city. It was originally from like a Holland, like a like a Holland name. Holland? I don't know.
Or Dutch.
Dutch name. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then so there was sort of a way to sort of differentiate itself, the name of the album from like other albums as
Yeah.
well.
I don't know if you remember this song, but American Me is also a song I really like
American
too.
Me is a good song as
Because I
well.
like how he talks about things going on in America too, which I don't. I mean he has addressed in other albums, but this was like the one song where he like truly
Right,
addresses
it's
it.
contemporary. You know, it
Exactly.
relates to things that are going on today. Another couple of songs where he sort of addresses like political issues, I guess, is like "Sunken Place," which is sort of more talking about like social issues that you know a lot of people in like urban neighborhoods go through, and how they sort of struggle to, you know, get out of that situation. Sunken Place is like essentially like a real place. Sunken Place relating to that the one scene in
Oh,
Get Out.
Get Out,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's sort of like what it's in
You're
relation to.
hypnotized
Yeah, yeah,
into it,
yeah.
yeah,
You're into the sunken
and
place,
you can't. It's hard for you to get
but
out.
he portrays the sunken place as essentially like a real place or like a mindset that people are in
Mm-hmm.
that live kind of day to day. Yeah,
I really like how the album ended too with mom's talk,
yeah.
where
That's kind of
she
appreciative.
where her Marco Polo's parents finally acknowledged
Yeah.
that he's made it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a common thing where like doing music and rap and whatnot. It's not you're the chances of you succeeding are not great
Right.
or making it.
Yeah.
And I really like how I haven't heard it in other albums or other like where the parents are talking to their kid
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I think like ending it off like on a positive note, sort of like it's kind of nice, you know, like a lot of at least from what I've listened to this year, like a lot of albums kind of end on like a I don't know, like sort of like a not I wouldn't kind of a pessimistic tone, you know, like because a lot of the music that comes out today, like that I've noticed and I've talked about this before, sort of embody like the daily goings about, you know, like the politics, the state of you know people just going about their lives and stuff like that. But I'm glad it sort of ended like on a positive note and saying like, listen, you know, you made it to the position that you wanted to get to initially, and I think that's something that you can definitely appreciate.
And what I appreciate too is like for Masta Ace, he's 52 years old now.
Right, that's crazy.
And he sounds better, like as good as ever.
Yeah,
And he's still delivering great bars, great flows, and
Yeah.
whatnot. And the production, as always, is top notch.
right. And we've talked about this in like other reviews, especially like the Eminem reviews, talking about how like rappers can like age gracefully, and I think this is definitely like the biggest like example of someone who,
I would say he's the best
the best
example
example,
of that.
right? I don't know if I haven't really listened to other older rappers like albums by any means, so maybe I'll check out
At least
like,
that I know of. but
yeah, at least that I know of, you know. But this is definitely like a good example of someone who's been able to, I guess, you know, transcend their age and provide like good music and not sort of like, not like fortifying his own sound, I guess. And I think another thing that I can definitely appreciate about this album, like it is definitely like a collaborative project, and I think like, I think nowadays producers definitely do get a lot of credit for the way the success of a song, right? Because you know a lot of trap songs, a lot of the popular songs nowadays, like immediately as like the beat starts, people recognize it and people go crazy. It's not necessarily the rapper who's like commanding the show. It's like the producer, and that like the beat that they create is the one that people remember. Like they're gonna remember like young Metro, Metro Boomin doing his thing. Like he's sort of like the one producer who's like very popular, and he's the one that's getting like number one, on like iTunes and stuff like that. So I think
Right.
I think producers definitely do get do deserve their recognition, and I think like this is a little different in a sense, but it's nice that this is a collaborative project, like Masta Ace and Marco Polo,
Yeah.
and their story of growing up in Brooklyn and sort of what they're going through.
I like how also in the Brooklyn song, like I'm gonna talk about two songs here, but
Sure.
the Brooklyn song, like Masta Ace mentions how Marco Polo's not from there, but he's very much a Brooklyn native,
Right, yeah,
because
exactly.
of the way he's lived, and he says that we're intertwined like braided hair.
Yeah.
And I would say the instrumental that stood out to most to me was Fight Song.
Fight song.
How it kind of has
yeah.
like an eerie.
Like
I don't want to say
sort of
I don't
like
want to say Kanye esque, but it's
it's like it's got like a gospel-esque quality to it,
yeah, and
like
it's
a church
sort
choir.
of dark too, and
Yeah.
and what's his name, Pharoah Monch, kind of has like
Pharoah
a
Monch,
like
yeah.
a like has like a dark
Yeah.
beginning to it,
Yeah, definitely.
talking about being a disease and all.
Now, especially like the way like Pharaoh Monk came in the beginning was crazy. Like he had this like energy. I was like, whoa! I did not really expect that. Like if you've listened to any of his music, he is like a very like, I don't know how to really say it, like kind of more aggressive rapper, especially like during the '90s. If you heard of Simon Says, like that's his like most well known song. But like the way he came on, really like it was pretty like it definitely caught my eye, and it was like probably it was just like a good closing song, to end the album on. Going a little more in depth with like the production, I think this is probably I'm pretty surprised by how much I enjoyed this album. Like I was
Yeah,
like
you've been sleeping on him, bro.
I yeah, maybe I have.
Uh-huh.
It's just difficult to get around to all this music, but
I understand. Yeah.
but I think the production, it's one of the best produced albums that I've listened to this year for sure.
Oh, I definitely would
Because
agree.
like it just everything just sounded so clean. Each beat was just accompanying so well with Masta Ace and what other rapper was featured on the song. And I think the beats themselves sort of had like their own character to it, and I think that sort of itself sort of contributes to it being a very like collaborative project.
And I do like especially towards the end of the album, like the Fight Song 3, and I think Wannabe, well, not really Wannabe, but like towards the end of the album, I like how they make the album sound a little bit more modern, but it's not
I
but
guess.
it's like, but what I like is that it's not overdone to where Masta Ace sounds like out of place, or
No.
and they put their toes in the water
Sure.
with it.
I guess. I think like they still stayed within like their lane more or less. Like
Oh yeah, they definitely did,
because like I think especially like if you
it's like what he's best
yeah,
at.
it's what he's best at, and if you look at the artists that were featured on here, there's a lot of, Smith and Wesson, Pharoah Monk, a lot of old school rappers, and some
Styles P.
yeah, Styles P too. I forgot about that. So like he definitely like sought out, or they definitely sought out people that would best like work with Masta Ace and the production as well. It's very, like it's very comfortable. I'd say like the only con that I really have against this album is that like it doesn't really feel like anything like new or just like unique by any means, but it's still a pretty well done album, and I think maybe some songs could be cut out. Maybe
The skits were fine.
skits I thought added
because
a lot to the story. Of
yeah,
the
because what I
album.
like was that it didn't have as many skits, because the
Yes.
following season, though I really enjoyed that album,
Yeah.
had, I think, a little too many skits
Yeah.
in it, and then it kind of like in a way sort of messed up the flow a bit for
Sure.
me. But I think it was 5 skits total, and a Brooklyn story
Yeah.
was like the perfect amount for
And
a 19 track album.
And I think that because the skits were generally pretty short, like it was concise, it got to the point like immediately, and it tied into the album overall.
Yeah.
I think it, I've talked about this before on another podcast, but how like skits don't really add that much value to an album, but in this case, I'd say that it definitely helped elevate the storytelling for sure. What would you say is like your favorite song on here?
I would probably say it's a fight song, but
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go with Breukelen. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only single off of this.
Uh-huh.
First thing that dropped, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the song that stands out.
Right. I
Like,
have a couple of songs that I liked. I mentioned "Still Love Her," mainly because I just think it's like really well done. "Sunken Place" is another good one. "Count 'Em Up." We didn't really talk about that, but
what do you want to say about that song?
it's like it's sort of like it's criticizing the industrial, like the prison industrial complex,
Yeah.
and how people get locked up and stuff.
For petty crimes.
petty
and all.
crimes, and how he also goes in depth in talking about like why people resort to drugs, why they resort to certain forms of violence is because that environment breeds that type of behavior. So he sort of explains like, yeah, why do people get locked up, and like why,
Yeah.
and like he in a sense he's also explaining to people that don't necessarily understand that kind of environment, including us, like
Yeah.
what kind of situation that must be. People that are on the other side of the criminal justice system, like cops and judges and stuff like that, and sort of explaining to them like this type of environment was sort of cultivated over time just due to American history and whatnot. So I think that's another good song. I definitely recommend for sure.
And I don't know if you know about Masta Ace, but he actually, as I said, he went to like the high school that was far away from where he lived,
Right.
and he actually made it to university, and he graduated from the University of Rhode Island.
I didn't know that.
And then, towards the end of falling season, he discusses how he's afraid of going out of state a bit, far away from home in his mind, and then actually graduating from college. I don't know what he got though.
Does he have like any songs talking about like college? I think that would be like an interesting.
Oh, he kind of in Disposable Arts. He kind of does like there's a song I remember. I don't remember what it's called now, but like he was talking about a roommate from Saskatchewan, Canada, and like he kind of discusses it, but I don't remember the
If he
details
goes
of
in
it.
depth or anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I
Okay.
really wish I remembered right now. But
Right.
I can't bring it up.
That's understandable.
I guess well also for a con I would say like there's like maybe like one or two songs that could be cut.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Or
I
like
agree with that.
maybe it weren't as up to par as everything else.
Yeah, I agree.
And going into this album too, like I knew this was gonna be good.
Okay.
Like I knew like hearing the Breukelen song, I just knew like he's still got it.
Right. Okay. I get that.
What did you think like going into like?
I mean, I think it was kind of what I expected. Like I knowing just sort of the name and like the type of music that he's done, kind of underground, old school boom bap rap. This is kind of the sound that I was going like that I expected, but I was definitely surprised by like how much more like in depth and like especially like it's kind of refreshing to hear like such a I guess like such a mature take on like the hip hop game,
Because it's not something that we see a lot.
No,
these
you don't.
days, so.
It's like a lot of it is like I mean he does of course do his like braggadocious rap, which
which is expected.
which is
right?
expected for most rappers, but like he also like just talking from like a very like old school perspective. And I think another thing I can commend him for doing is that like a lot of like old heads get kind of flack for saying like, oh, music isn't like the same as it was, and it's not, but he sort of takes it from a very like nuanced perspective. He says like especially like in Still
Like he's
Still
not
Love Her,
he's not
stuff.
like a Lord Jamar type.
Sure,
or like he just shits
or like
on
a
everyone.
Run DMC type,
Yeah.
like where they like kind of shit on.
Like I would consider myself an old head, but I'm starting to open myself up to new music.
Sure.
Like I mean, you know me. Like,
Nah, I got you.
It's hard for me. Like I really like J. Cole now. And,
Yeah. Okay.
and whatnot.
That's understandable.
So.
I think like the sort of the way he presented this is like a good like it's a good model for how maybe some other older rappers or or just like rappers who think that music is not as good as anymore. So just take a look at this and say like, okay, there's a way you can sort of approach the topic from like a mature standpoint and not have to call out like all these rappers and shit, So
Yeah.
I think this is definitely like definitely one of the better projects that I've heard this year. What would you give it as like a rating?
Oh man, like I like all of his albums, as I said,
Uh-huh.
but it's, like even if I had to do like a ranking thing or
Yeah.
rating them,
Yeah.
like it's really hard for
It's
me to like
difficult.
actually give a rating.
If you took away the fact that you've listened to his other music, what would you give it? Like if this was the first album that you listened to, kind of like myself, even though I've listened to Disposable Arts, but like if this was the first time you've listened to Masta Ace, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it like a 9, or
Yeah.
like 9.5 out of 10.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, how about you?
I think I'm probably in the same boat. I'd probably give it like a 9. As just like a pure rap album, this is definitely one of the best ones out there. Oh, another con, I guess. I guess like I think that this just comes with like underground rappers, but like the hooks are a little weak. But that's kind of what I expected going into it. So I wouldn't really say that's really.
There was a couple of songs where I thought it was like that, but maybe
Yeah.
like
It
not
was
the overall album.
No. It didn't like bother me. Like it was just like okay, whatever. That could have been better, but like it didn't take away from the overall impression that I had with the album. So I'd probably give this like a 9 as well. Definitely recommend it.
I definitely would too.
And I'll when I have time, I'll definitely check out the other albums that he has.
Yeah, I would. I mean, they're all really good.
Uh-huh.
But I got to listen to his collaborative stuff.
Yeah,
to really know more about him.
Yeah, just based on like what he did here with Marco Polo, and I think they've done other.
And he's a good producer.
Like
This is really well done. By
definitely, and I think this sort of makes me want to see like what other rap music he's like produced in the past as well. Anyways, that's probably gonna do it for today. We definitely recommend this album. Check it out.
Oh, and one last thing, he's coming to our hometown.
Is he really?
In the spring of 2019.
Okay, all right.
Because I actually hit him up on DMs and Instagram.
Yeah, did he respond?
Oh, he did.
Nice.
And I said that his album was good.
Yeah.
And he said like thank you very much.
There we go.
And then I asked him, of course,
Yeah.
and he said spring of 2019. Don't know the exact date, so
spring of
2019. We got to hit up that concert whenever it comes by.
Sure, definitely keep that in mind for sure. Anyways, that's been Save the Semantics Hip Hop Discovery. Thanks for listening. I will see you guys next time.
Later.